In the center of Chicago, surrounded by glass towers and office blocks, there is a 32-story building with a reputation so quietly unsettling that most people who work there refuse to talk about it after dark. Officially, it is called the Harper Lowell Financial Center, another anonymous high-rise with mirrored windows and a lobby that smells like cleaning chemicals and burnt coffee. But among the tenants, the building has another name. They call it the 13th that isn't there, like many skyscrapers. The elevator panel jumps from 12 to 14. There is no button for a 13th floor. The official explanation is simple: superstition. Many developers skip the number to appease nervous tenants and investors. But in this building, something is different. Because every so often the elevator ignores the buttons you press. It stops in the space where 13 should be. And for a few seconds, the doors try to open. The first recorded incident happened in 1998, just a year after the building opened. A night janitor named Elijah Brown was riding the service elevator from the lobby to the 20th floor. Security logs and CCTV footage confirmed this. At 11:42 p.m., the elevator started its ascent. At 11:43 p.m., it stopped between 12 and 14 and stayed there. On the security camera feed, Elijah looks confused. He presses the 20 button again. Then door open, then door close. The panel doesn't respond. 30 seconds pass. Then the lights flicker. What happens next has been watched and rewound by dozens of investigators. The floor display, which had been showing 12, flicks to 13, just for a second. The doors jolt, as if trying to open against something blocking them. Elijah stares at the gap, breathing heavily. He later reported feeling cold air coming in like from a freezer, but worse than the cold was the sound. He heard footsteps. Not from above, not from below. From the hallway on the other side of the doors, slow, barefoot, stopping right in front of him. He slammed his fist against the emergency stop button and screamed for help. For a moment, the camera audio picks up a second voice whispering, too faint to decode. Then the display jumps to 14, the doors close fully, and the elevator continues like nothing happened. Elijah refused to take that elevator again. When pressed by building management, he resigned. A week later, he left Chicago altogether. At the time, his story was treated like a stress-induced episode, a trick of the mind, a quirk in the aging elevator system. No one connected it to the strange noise complaints from the tenants on the 12th and 14th floors, who said that sometimes late at night, they heard doors sliding open and closed in the empty shaft between them. But over the next 10 years, the pattern became impossible to ignore. In 2003, a paralegal named Jenna Morris reported that the elevator she was in stopped for exactly 12 seconds between floors. During that time, she heard someone whisper her name from the other side of the thin metal doors. Not a familiar voice. Not quite male or female, just close. In 2007, a delivery driver claimed that when the doors briefly opened onto the missing floor, he saw a hallway. It was lit by yellow, buzzing fluorescent tubes. The carpet was an ugly brown pattern from decades ago. The walls were off-white stained and lined with doors that had no numbers. He only got a glimpse 3, maybe 4 seconds. But what made him fall backward and slam the closed door button wasn't the decor. It was the man standing at the far end of the hallway. Tall, thin, wearing a suit that looked slightly out of style. His face was turned toward the elevator, but his eyes were already waiting for him. When the building's security team pulled the footage, the recording from inside the elevator showed only a flicker of the doors starting to open, then closing again. No hallway, no man. The driver's reaction, however, stumbling, sweating, crying, was very real. He never came back to the building. By 2010, the unofficial rumor among staff was clear. There is a 13th floor. You just don't want to see it. An IT contractor named Ravi Malhotra decided to treat it as an urban legend. In 2012, he and a coworker stayed late to patch servers in a law firm on the 22nd floor. After midnight, fueled by energy drinks and boredom, they got into the elevator and intentionally tried to trigger the 13th. They jumped. pressed multiple buttons at once, swiped their access cards over the panel. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. The elevator behaved normally. On the security footage, they are laughing. Then both of their smiles vanish at exactly the same moment. They don't seem to hear it at first. The camera's microphone picks up a faint scraping noise above them, like something heavy being dragged across concrete. The lights flicker. The display jumps from 10 to 11, then back to 10, then up to 12. Then, for the first time in a long time, the number 13 appears. The elevator shudders. Ravi and his coworker freeze. On the audio, one of them whispers, "Okay, that's not funny." The other tries to hit the door open button, but the doors are already moving slowly, reluctantly, like something on the other side is pushing back. They open about 5 centimeters. The camera catches a sliver of darkness, then something else. Not a hallway. Not a wall. Just a rectangular patch of blackness so deep the lens struggles to capture it. A void, and inside that void, faintly 2 pale shapes, hands, as if someone were pressing against thin glass from the other side. There is a sharp metallic noise like a cable being struck hard. The doors slam shut. The elevator drops half a meter, jolts to a stop, and the display jumps to 14. Maintenance logs show temporary relay fault, corrected automatically. The 2 men left the building in silence. Ravi refused to talk about what he'd seen until years later, when he moved out of state and left his job. He described it like this. It wasn't a floor. It was like an empty elevator shaft with something listening, waiting, like we had knocked on the wrong door. By this point, small anomalies had become common knowledge among the nighttime security staff. They talked about floors being called with no one there, doors opening on empty corridors, cameras glitching only when the elevator passed between 12 and 14. One of those guards, an older man named Carl, started keeping a private log of unofficial incidents. From 2013 to 2018, he recorded 27 unexplained events. Some were minor, strange cold drafts around the doors, lights flickering only at that section of the shaft. Others were disturbing. On 3 separate occasions, the camera in the elevator captured reflections in the polished metal doors when no one else was inside. Faint outlines of people standing behind the camera's position, faces leaning in as if trying to look out. Whenever the doors opened, the reflections vanished. The car was empty. In late 2019, something happened that pushed the building's quiet fear into outright terror. A junior accountant named Lisa Gutierrez worked late one Tuesday night. Security footage shows her leaving her office on the 10th floor at 11:36 p.m. and entering the elevator alone. She presses the lobby button. The doors close. The elevator begins to move. Halfway down, it stops. The floor indicator flickers between 14 and 12, as if uncertain where the car is. Then, slowly, it settles on 13. Inside the elevator, Lisa frowns and presses the lobby button again. On the audio, we can hear her say, "Come on, not tonight." She presses door open. The doors obey. Instead of the familiar hallway, the camera shows a corridor bathed in sickly yellow light. The wallpaper is old and peeling. The carpet is stained. There are doors lining the corridor, but none have numbers. The air looks hazy, as if filled with dust or smoke. Lisa steps closer to the threshold, but does not exit. She leans forward, squinting, as if listening. Then she snaps back, startled. On the audio, a distinct sound emerges from the corridor. A telephone ringing, not a modern ringtone. An old-fashioned bell ring, sharp and mechanical. After 5 rings, it stops. A few seconds later, it begins again, this time louder, closer. Lisa's expression changes from curiosity to fear. She presses door close repeatedly, but the elevator doesn't respond. The phone stops ringing. Footsteps replace it, echoing from down the corridor, approaching. Slow, heavy, like someone dragging one foot behind the other. The footsteps stop just out of frame. Then a shadow falls across the elevator doorway, elongated, distorted. It stretches from the corridor into the car, across Lisa's shoes. Something whispers. The microphone barely catches it. "Found you." The lights cut out. The video glitches. When it returns, the elevator is in the lobby. The doors are open. The car is empty. Lisa was never seen again. Her access card was found on the elevator floor. Her bag remained in her office. None of the security cameras outside the elevator show her leaving the building. The official report lists her as a missing person. Building management cooperated with police, handed over footage, and then did everything they could to keep the media from connecting the case to the old elevator rumors. They cited privacy, liability, and grief for the family. But among the tenants, the story spread like a virus. No one wanted to work late anymore. Cleaning crews demanded higher pay or quit. Several firms quietly moved their offices to different buildings. The Harper Lowell Financial Center did something subtle in response. They updated the elevator software, added new safety features, installed fresh surveillance cameras, and in one small unannounced change, they modified the control panel. The floor display would no longer show 13 under any circumstances. If an error occurred, it would flash E for emergency instead. That should have been the end of it. But the people who still work there say it isn't. They say that sometimes when you ride the elevator alone after midnight, it pauses just for a moment between floors. The lights dim. The temperature drops. And in that space where 13 used to flicker, the display shows nothing at all. Just a blank rectangle. If you watch the doors during those moments, you might see something in the seam. Not a hallway, not a wall, just darkness. Deep and thick like the inside of a throat. Some employees claim that if you listen closely, you can hear muffled noises from the other side. A phone ringing, feet shuffling on old carpet, the faint creak of a door opening. Sometimes they swear they can hear a voice speaking directly against the metal. Not begging, not threatening, just inviting. Come see. Rumors say that the 13th floor is not a floor at all. It's a holding space. A place that exists only sometimes when the elevator passes through the wrong way. A leftover glitch from another version of the building. From another time. Maybe from a future renovation that never happened. Maybe from a past that was erased. Some believe the man in the outdated suit is the original architect, trapped in his own design. Others think he's something older, using the building's skeleton to wear a human shape. Whatever the truth is, one thing repeats in almost every story. The 13th doesn't want to be empty. It wants company. Maybe that's why the building never fully empties out. No matter how bad the rumors get, new tenants move in, unaware. A blank space appears on the display where a number should be. Until someone answers?